Welcome to your daily 180 Bible study. We're talking about sin, the nature of sin, and our response to God in all of this. And today we're going to be looking at the fact of what sin really is and the nature of sin. In 1 John chapter 3 and verse number 4, we're told something about sin. There, John would write, "Whoever commits sin also commits lawlessness. And sin is lawlessness. It is rebellion against God's perfect standard." And how does that process happen? There's an interesting passage of Scripture in James chapter 1. And listen to what James has to say about the progressive nature of sin and how it comes about. He says, beginning in verse number 13, "Let no one say when he is tempted, 'I am tempted by God,' for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does He Himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. Every good and perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning." Did you notice back there it talks about temptation? We are drawn away by our own desires and enticed. It is the idea of a lure. If you're a fisherman or you like to fish and you try to use the bait that you think will attract the fish that you're going after. Satan is the same way. And he will bait you. He has a lure. And you know, a good fisherman has a lure and he puts it on his line and he puts it out there and he wants to deceive that fish. That's the way sin is. That's the way temptation is. And that fish will come along and grab that lure, but here's the thing about sin. You never get what you thought you were going to get. And that fish is terribly disappointed when he's hooked. Think about it in this respect. Think about that fisherman that throws out what he thinks is the perfect lure, and that fish just swims around, and he might look at that lure for a minute, might even desire that lure for a moment, but something's not right, and he swims on. And the fisherman says, "What's wrong with that fish?" No. That's not what's wrong with that fish. That fish was smart enough not to take the bait. Now, when we think about temptation and we think about sin and the deadly nature of sin, we need to ask ourselves, are we smart enough not to take the bait? We need to be careful. Sin is deadly and will separate us from God. Thank you for being with us today, and join us again for your daily 180 Bible study.